Hello everyone, Rahe here with ENDREA Consulting once again. Today I'm here with Daleele with Rooks Digital Marketing, and we are talking about web design and development. So welcome, Daleele.
Thank you for having me.
So tell us a little bit about what you guys do at Rooks.
Yeah, so at Rooks, we do web design development, search engine optimization, and online advertising. So our main focus is to just help clients be able to use online marketing as a resource, right? To grow their business, to be more successful, to find clients, and to drive ultimately revenue at the end of the day.
So. Yeah, and I know, we've talked many different times about the different ways and how important the web design is for a company, and the whole user experience piece to it, and how that can help with a company. So what are some tips that you might give to small, medium businesses about to focus on with the user experience, like what they should be thinking through when they're looking at their...
Yeah, so that's a good question. The first thing is probably think about who their ideal audience is. So who's your user, who's actually going to your website to view it, who's using it, because then you can kind of derive what items you need to include, from content to the experience as a whole, to the navigation, to the flexibility. So that would be the first thing, is really defining who your audience is and who are going to be the users that are actually using the website. The second thing would be knowing what devices that they're using as well too. So mobile's a big thing right now. So everyone's on mobile. Majority of users are actually using mobile. So you have to take that into consideration from a user experience and make sure that your website is mobile friendly, but as well as responsive across all platforms, because people use laptops, they have different screen resolutions, they have different dimensions. So something to take into consideration when you're building that user experience. Because if you have, let's say, a website that's only available on laptop, when someone goes to view it on mobile, it won't be the best experience.
Exactly.
And if that's the case, then they might navigate away, you might lose their interest, and you might, at the end of the day, kind of do more harm than good by even having the website online.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's two things that I want to kind of point out with what you were just saying there is, people moving away so quickly.
Right.
That's what in my world and stuff that we run into a lot is you got to capture that engagement right away, and if it's hard to use, people move away, and it's not worth it.
Right.
So to go along with the user experience side of it too is, do you see a lot of business owners, when they're in the process of developing a new website, get outsiders' opinion? And what I mean by that is have like their target audience, somebody go in and just play around and say, hey, this doesn't make sense. This process doesn't make sense, because a lot of times in my world, the business owners are looking at it in the heart of it, not as the outsider. Do you see a lot of people utilizing outsiders to kind of try and get a feel and get the right
so
going?
I guess I've seen both approaches. So yes, sometimes they get an outsider perspective on it, but a lot of times, depending on the type of business you're working with, is the big thing. A lot of the companies I work with are usually a little bit more established, so they have a sense of who they're exactly targeting based off their previous clientele. So that makes it a little bit easier, because then they can say, hey, based off our revenue, based off our company being around for X amount of years, we know these are the type of people that are going to buy our product and service. So that makes it a little bit easier. It makes my job easier too at the end of the day. But we also come across people where they don't know who their target audience is, and what we try to do is guide them towards that, and say like, hey, who's your target audience, and then kind of like dig deeper. And don't even look at it from an online marketing perspective. At that point, it becomes like, what's your business, right? Like, why are you around? What products or services are you offering? What's popular? What's not popular? What makes you money? So the conversation kind of steers away, honestly, from online marketing in regards to what's your business at the end of the day.
And I see, like you mentioned the products and services that they're offering and stuff. E-commerce is huge right now.
Yeah.
And the products and services, and this kind of ties right into the user experience also.
Absolutely.
So what do you notice in the e-commerce world of like the user experience, how important it is, or what is the thing that loses people quickly, or what they should be focusing kind of on? Like, I know the abandoned cart or whatever. Like, what do you see as the biggest thing to kind of focus in on with the e-commerce?
So a couple different things. So first, usability. So being able to kind of one-stop, press a button, be able to get like an item in the cart, be able to check out and have a seamless flow. Would probably be the big thing. So a lot of times when we're doing websites, we try to think of how can we reduce the amount of clicks, so then that way the user can easily put it in their cart, make the purchase, and be done at the end of the day. So that's probably a big thing there. I would also say too is kind of making sure your system's all integrated. So on the back end, a lot of times what we spend time doing is like an audit of an existing e-commerce website to see how everything is set up. And then based off that, at the end of the day, your life needs to be easier internally. And so if all your systems are working together in your favor, you can make things a lot easier internally, which will save you time and save you money in the long run.
So with the e-commerce side of things, so I know utilizing the right, you mentioned back end side of it. So utilizing the right, the CMS system, kind of what, I don't know if you want to explain what that is when we talk back end to people, because a lot of people probably don't know what we're talking about. So can you describe kind of what that means?
Yeah, so the back end, we do a lot of development on the WordPress platform, which is the content management system, is what it is at the end of the day. And that's where like all your apps, if you will, live. So they're plugins by WordPress term. And so like that's how your WooCommerce store, which is the plugin for WordPress, that's where you set up all your products, your services if you're selling stuff. It also has like your setup for the payment integration. So if you're doing Stripe, PayPal, there's a bunch of other ones out there. That's where it's kind of important to realize like how are all these things interacting with each other, and how you need them to interact, because there's also things that happen on the back end that affect how your business is going to run from a day-to-day operation. And if you don't have it set up properly in WordPress or whatever CMS you're using, there's Shopify as well too. Magento is another one, so there's a bunch of different ones that are out there. But if you don't have it set up properly at the back end, it can actually do you more harm than good, because it'll be a broken process throughout your business, which only makes things harder.
Mm-hmm. And to follow up along with that of the back end set up properly, I know you and I have talked about a couple of my clients and stuff like that, getting them set up of thinking about future.
Yeah.
There's all these platforms that are out there that, could be easy, quick setup right now, but is it going to take them into the future in the long run? So are there things like these that you notice with some of these platforms, some of these easy deal setups that you can't grow from there that you run into?
Yeah.
So
so absolutely. So there's like a difference between WordPress and Shopify. So Shopify is a little bit more restricted because it's subscription based. You're buying into their product, versus WordPress is open source. So anyone can kind of develop and create apps or plugins, what they call them, on top of WordPress. And it also gives you the flexibility to be able to do any customization. So we work with clients where they come in with a WordPress website, or they might come in with a Shopify, and there's some sort of limitation that they can't do because of the platform that causes them to not be able to kind of grow in that sense. So we always recommend kind of doing an analysis and having them do their own research on the various products and kind of get a sense of what it is that they need, because you don't want to spend a lot of money setting up one store or using one platform when it's not solving your business at the end of the day. So kind of doing due diligence in regards to like working with an expert, asking questions, doing some research on your own and figuring out, okay, what is the long-term play for my business and how does this technology integrate with it?
Mm-hmm. So that goes into something that I always say to everybody is planning.
Yes.
and knowing where you want to go and what you're reaching for. So it's like, you don't look at right now what's going to solve the problem now, but 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now, where do you want to be and see yourself and set yourself up for success in that way?
That's exactly right. So the more preparation you can have, the better you are for the long term. Mm-hmm. And in time, right? So you spend a little bit more money up front. Sometimes people always say like, hey, I can go get a website for a lot cheaper, or I can build a website myself, but you have to think about how much time you're investing into building that. And then you also have to think about, if I spend just a little bit more up front now, then in the long run I won't have to spend as much to maintain it, to manage it, to change it, and things like that.
Yeah, and that also kind of goes into another piece of what you guys help out with is on like the right setup to get the right organic side of it. So that sometimes when I'm not saying nobody can go and do their own site or anything, but it does say that you want to know and pay attention to these things, that where do you want to go? What do you want your goals to be? Because there is some very important things in the back end for the search engine optimization, for different things of that. And if you have somebody focused on that and knows from the beginning, they're setting it up for success.
Yeah. And one common thing that we see a lot of times is that it's known as SSL, so the security certificate. Mm-hmm. So if you look at a website link, it says HTTP versus like HTTPS, that dings you from an SEO standpoint. Because
my website, and I know that, and I keep
Yeah.
on. I'm like, every time
Yeah.
I see it, I'm like, oh shoot, I need to get this changed.
So it's like, because SEO is big on a whole bunch of little things done right over the long haul. It's not this one magic bullet like, hey, go blog and you're going to be at the top of the list, or hey, go engage with other people, post, or whatever it may be. It's a whole bunch of little things that add up to get you higher ranked in the search engines. And so that's why it's important to look at things like holistically and plan, like you said.
Yeah, know what the future brings, what you want to happen in the future, and plan for it.
Yep.
Yeah. So I don't want to just kind of shut us off right now, but I want you to kind of mention to everybody, what is your biggest tip when we're talking web design, development, if you want to throw SEO in there, what would be your main big tip that you would tell to small, medium businesses out there?
Yeah, I would say first, well, a couple different things, but the first thing
I said
is
one.
I'll give two. So we always do like discovery. I think that's important. So when you're taking on a website project, I think you should go through the process of a discovery, which is kind of like planning. You're a strategist, so you know how that works. Planning out why you're doing this project, and a discovery session usually helps with that. And it has, we were talking about this earlier, like having an outsider potentially come in to provide some guidance in regards to like, hey, why are you doing what you're doing, and maybe have you think of things differently, because then you can ultimately get to your end goal of why are you taking on a website project? Why are you spending money on online advertising? Is it just to get on the top of the page for Google, or is it because you want to get people in your door, or is it because you want to promote a certain product or promote your business? Having to figure out why is like the big thing, and the discovery really helps with that, I think.
Yeah, so the planning.
Yeah,
that's what
plan
I
is all
always
back to
push
planning.
for everybody. That's
agree.
what I guess a strategy-minded person. That's
Yeah.
what they think is. You're not going to get anywhere until you prepare, you plan, and you strategize.
Yep, exactly.
So, yeah, well, wonderful. Well, thank you so much for talking to me, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.